Welcome back to Almost Private. This is a place where we sit with the quiet, layered parts of life and the little truths we don't always say out loud. This is a space for reflection, curiosity, and the beauty we find along the way. I'm Mariah, your host, and I am so glad you're here. Before we get started, am I not kind of blending in with the couch? I mean, I love a good brown, but this top is kind of making me blend in a little bit, which I think is kind of cute. But today's episode is about consistency over intensity. And what kind of made me think about this is coming off of Ramadan and also thinking about lilies and how once they're planted, they bloom year over year. It's not the intensity that gives them their beauty, but their consistency to show up and bloom and bless us with their presence year over year. And I really like to sit and think with that about how nature takes time to be very consistent, but not altered, of course, but consistent in their growing cycles. I do have a couple plants and they go dormant, and then they have a consistency era and time frame throughout the year where they will then sprout. And so I like to really sit and think about how, for me, in this particular space that I'm in, consistency is trumping the intensity that I once held. There is something so joyous and grounding about showing up for yourself time and time again quietly. I think that I owe that to myself. And in some way, I believe that we all owe that to ourselves. As a woman, specifically for me, a Black woman, this has shown up as a woman, specifically a Black woman. I have felt the pressure to be intensity in speed, intensity in proving myself, and intensity to show a sense of urgency in order to be taken seriously. Now, I want to say this. All three of those things, I believe, are needed in order to grow. You need speed. And when I say speed, you need to be able to stay on top of things. Intensity and showing up. You got to show up to show that you can be trusted. And, and part of being able to have a sense of urgency to let everyone know that I am to be taken seriously, I think all of those play a big part in it. When you put so much pressure and intensity on those things that it does not feel aligned and you feel disconnected and out of your body, I think that that's where the problem lies. That is where I feel that at times I am. Now, being consistent on all of those things, to me, sets the same level of trust and devotion to the project that you are currently working on. I am currently stepping out of the intense role. I don't know that I have the level of intensity to be able to sustain it that I felt that I needed in the past. I can be very consistent. And that is where I want that consistency to be able to overlay into every aspect of my life. Consistency, to be consistent at something. That is my goal. Not because intensity is inherently bad or wrong, because it's not. There are times where intensity is necessary. And me, I am no pushover. If there's a situation where intensity is required, I want to be able to use that, but not to be able to always be in that space. But I am learning that consistency, time over time, builds something deeper. It builds a level of trust inwardly that is then expressed outwardly. So I think about the lilies. I feel when people are planting lilies into their garden, they are trusting that that lily is going to bloom year over year and be consistent in its blooming around the same timing of each year. They put that in the ground with the expectation that that is something that's going to take place. So for me, planting the seed of expecting consistency over my life is something that I am now expecting of myself. So I need to trust that I can be able to produce the consistency that it takes in certain areas that I have been maybe more intense, being able to plant that seed of consistency to watch it bloom and watch it grow and watch it become second nature, Now, if you're listening to this and you are working on being consistent in small ways, I want you to know I see you, I feel you, and I am you. I don't think it's sustainable to try to be consistent in every aspect of your life overnight. Now, I do think that that happens with momentum. So if you're consistent in waking up early in the morning, then you'll be consistent with going to sleep at a reasonable time in order to sustain that consistency. So it rolls over into other areas. If you are working out consistently and you notice that it is hard for you to work out because of what you potentially ate, then you will consistently start to eat maybe healthier meals in order to stay on your working out. It has to be something that is within, it has to be something that you want in order for it to stick, not something that you see others doing that you want to get on the bandwagon that doesn't feel authentically to you or that does not feel true to your true essence. I keep coming back to this quote I heard while on the internet. I don't actually remember who said the quote, but what he said was, slowly is the fastest way to your dreams. And I was like, while there is some speed to that, slowly is the fastest way to your dreams. Building a foundation, building the consistency, building the community or the thought and the why. Being able to sit with those things, not get stuck in the sitting with those things, but getting able to sit and understand so that you can continue to move slowly, one foot in front of the other, consistently. I'll share some areas where I am currently working on staying consistent in my life. The first thing is going to be my salah. Being able to pray my salah every day and on time. And I know that it is a pillar of Islam. I do not need to be reminded of that. I am aware of that. But I am saying that being able to pray it on time every day consistently is a big goal and desire of mine. Having a set wake up time, even on the weekends. So your girl loves to sleep in on the weekends. And while I think there's some space for that, being able to have a healthy wake up time to be more efficient throughout the day, to be able to enjoy my day is something that I'm looking to be more consistent on. Self-devotion through journaling and planning. They say if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. So being better about planning what I am looking for in life. I'm really good at planning a vacation, but I want to be able to plan other things in my life as well so that I'm able to accomplish those and I'm able to be consistent across different areas of my life so that it rolls over into the areas that right now are very intense for me. And also learning to trust myself. Originally, when I was scripting out this episode, I put learning to trust myself again. But I think the reality is, have I ever truly trusted myself? And I don't know that I have. So I'm saying being consistent and trusting myself. And I think the lack of trust that came from me personally is just making bad decisions and allowing myself to align to a different perspective, standard or hold that I knew that wasn't true to my essence, but I may have been hearing. And so just being able to learn to trust myself is something that I'm looking to be consistent about. Intensity in the past for me has looked like being disconnected from my true essence and being disconnected to a point where I cannot hear what my essence is. I cannot hear it because I am so bogged down by what I have, aligned myself to, this level of intensity, this level of fierceness. And I can be fierce. I think it's actually a beautiful part of me, but being able to withhold that intensity so that I am still able to hear myself and to let my true essence bloom and to be shown. It also had me acting in ways that did not feel good to my body. And this is something that I really had to take inventory on, of being able to say, the way you're acting, the way you're talking, the way you're being does not feel good. You may have done this in the past and it feels comfortable, but it doesn't feel good in your body afterwards. And so being able to say that level of intensity needs to be gone. If I'm honest, it just needs to be gone. It needs to be not around, and because it doesn't feel good. I don't want to live like that. And I'm the only one who thinks in my brain. I heard this on TikTok and I love it. I'm the only one that thinks in my brain. I am the only one who is responsible for my actions. And that's really just that. It also shaped how I was being perceived. Now, while being perceived in a certain way is not everything, right? Especially when somebody wants to perceive you in a certain way, there's not much that you can do about that. There's actually nothing you can do about that if that is someone's desire. And being relatable and all of that through perception, I'm trying to be this way when it's not necessarily something that feels good for you, you're not going to get far, or I don't think that you're going to be able to sustain that. And so being able to say, I am being perceived in a way that I don't feel is even aligned with me by people who love me, right? Love me and want to see the best in me. They're even perceiving me in a certain way. So I definitely need to take some inventory and just be honest. They are perceiving me in this way. The people that love me are perceiving me in this way because this is how I am acting. So it ties into the other one of both of those being disconnected to my essence, acting in a certain way, and then in turn being perceived in a certain way. So that level of intensity, I feel like just has to go. It really just has to go. Consistency, even though I'm still working on it, has given me some clarity to be able to understand that even though I've unaligned myself in certain areas and I'm being consistent with certain habits to make sure that I'm able to align myself, it has given me the clarity to be able to hear my essence and to be able to hear God and to be able to recognize that there are things that I want in my life that are possible without the filters of maybe those who I don't necessarily have the greatest, without having the filters of those who put expectations and hold on me, that don't have my best interest at heart, and that don't care for me and that don't love me. Now, here's an honest reflection. I've gotten insecure about it, about being consistent and thinking, why haven't I been doing this in the past? Why am I just doing it now? Am I behind? Does this really matter? Should I be changing up? Should I be moving faster? Should I keep this intensity, but maybe repackage it as something else? And that's why I really have to step back and, trust the process and the flow and the path, and understanding that community building does take time, and it takes time over a span of time, whether it's community building online, community building in your personal life. It's going to take some time to find those people and align with them. And yes, there's still some parts of me that wants that intensity. I want that dopamine hit. I want it right now. I want everything to be packaged up and just ready to go. But I am learning to trust and love the journey and the foundation building. And who knows, maybe in the future, I will pick up the pace. But right now, I'm getting very clear about what I want and what capacity I have in order to get there. And I would love for you all to reflect on this as well in your personal life, if it aligns and makes sense for you. So here's a permission that I want to give to you. You are allowed to slow down certain parts of your life to create consistency over those parts. But don't do it in a way that causes harm for you or gets you stuck. But just understand that if it's a small area that can then trickle over to another area, you are allowed to do that, and you're allowed to do it at the pace that makes sense for you. So before I hop, I have a question for you. Where in your life can consistency add value over intensity? Please leave your answer down in the comments. I would love to have a conversation with you all. And as always, take what you need from this episode and leave the rest. Thank you. And I'm so glad you're here. I'll see you in my next one. Bye.